At Giant Eagle, we've always loved our perks. Now we're excited to welcome you all to the future of loyalty with My Perks. There's no math, less rules, and more perks. 50 perks equals $1 off your total, and there are no limits. Plus, you earn perks even when you redeem, so you're always building rewards towards free gas and groceries. Guests who earn the most perks can now unlock My Perks Pro, and pros get even more pumped-up savings. Visit gianteagle.com/myperks to switch today.
It takes a lot of ingredients to fix or build a car, like cooking, but without the frozen dinner easy way out. eBay Motors has 122 million parts. It's always the right fitment, so you can follow any recipe to a T. Whether it's a vintage Italian coupe that's classic like Grandma's meatballs or a German luxury car that's as complicated as Oma's rouladen, to cook up something great in the garage, use the eBay Motors app or visit ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of DFS Today. This is your Tuesday, December 28th edition. I am your host, Santino Cacone, and I am joined by the one, the only, DJ Sammy Caps. How you doing today, buddy?
Good. How you doing, Santino? It's nice to be back again.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. We just ended the Christmas weekend. We're getting into New Year's next weekend, so things are pretty good. But how about yourself?
Good, man. Good. This year just flew by. I can't believe we're celebrating New Year's again.
Yeah, right. It flew by, came and went. We only have a couple days left of this calendar year. It's crazy.
I know. This is the last Tuesday edition of the year. It's insane.
That is true. Yeah. Friday is New Year's Eve. Oh, wow. I didn't even think of that. Well, so our last episode of 2021.
Right. That's insane. Wow.
Awesome, man. And we have a nice 8-game slate to cap our final Tuesday of 2021 off. So I'm looking forward to that. And without further ado, let's jump right into it, man. We don't have many spreads as of right now or many totals. We only have 2 of the 8. First game on the docket, though, is the Milwaukee Bucks taking on the Orlando Magic in Orlando. We have most of the injury reports. The Bucks only have Brook Lopez on the injury report as out. Nothing else. The Magic have Cole Anthony, Mo Bamba, MCW, Fultz, Isaac, Etuan Moore, Michael Mulder, Chuma Okeke, Terrence Ross, and Jalen Suggs all out for this one. We'll start with the Bucks, man. And what are you looking at on this side of the ball?
I'll be looking at Bobby Portis. In the last 4 games, he posted 2 double-doubles and was close in the other 2 that he played as well. And since coming back from the COVID protocols, he hasn't really looked like he had any rust or that COVID even affected him at all. So I'll be looking to get him into my lineups as well, or at least try to. And Demarcus Cousins, I was watching, I believe they played on Christmas, and he caught my eye. He's getting high teens to high 20s in minutes. So, I mean, that's kind of middle of the pack for minutes. But he's been close to a double-double. And even though he's been kind of all over the place, I think he'll get the most playing time against the Magic. Just because I think if this game gets out of hand, they'll probably rest Giannis. Probably their big 3, honestly, Giannis, Middleton, and Holiday. And I think he might get some more playing time. And even with the high 20s, could definitely give some value. But what about you, Santino? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm kind of leery on playing anyone on this side of the ball, knowing that the Magic aren't great to start with, and knowing that they're also going to be missing Anthony, Bamba, Suggs, and Ross. That's 3 starters right there, and Cole Anthony, Mo Bamba are the big ones. I honestly don't know if this is going to stay competitive long enough. The spread, I'm assuming, is going to be 12 to 15 points, even though the Bucks are away. That's huge. If they were home, that'd be nearly 20 points, maybe more. So I'm going to have a little reservation on playing anyone, though I don't mind. Like Giannis at 11.9 is a hefty price tag, but he can still put up 60 points in 25 minutes against this team. But I'm probably going to lean on not having too many people in tournaments or cash, just because I don't know how close this game's gonna be, and I feel like a lot of people are gonna chop up their minutes in this one. So I'm very leery of that, but I'll see tomorrow. We don't know who's going to be in, who's going to be out on this protocol stuff, so definitely going to keep an eye on that, and that might change by tomorrow. But jumping on to Orlando, man, what are you looking at over here? And pretty much all of their whole team is out, so who you like on this side?
Yeah, no, I know. This was tough, and I've been trying to get some value for you guys, but I mean, like I said, it's hard to do. But I picked out a couple guys. I'm looking at J Hampton. He's been playing 30 more minutes, and he's been scoring high in actual points. He's had a couple rebounds, a couple assists as well. And then I'm also looking at Gary Harris, which is pretty much the same as Hampton. I mean, he's been getting 30 more minutes, and he's been getting high actual points, like in the 20s, high teens, and he's been getting a couple rebounds, couple assists. So with the Magic really missing, it seems like almost their whole team, I think these two would probably be your best bet for tonight's game.
Yeah, I like Harris at 5K. He's been playing pretty solid. That's around where he's hitting. He's been value or higher in the last 5 games, at least 25 points, last game being the least amount of points that he had. And that's still hitting value there. So I like Harris. I don't think the price tag still reflects what he's doing with everyone gone. Wagner, Carter Jr., they're slightly more expensive than I want to pay, but they're going to play 40 minutes. So it's you can still look at them. But I think, like you mentioned, Hampton, 3,200 makes some sense. Gravett at 3,600. The guy played 33 minutes in the last one. There's supposed to be no Cole Anthony again. At almost near bare minimum. The last 3 times this guy's played at least 25 minutes, 3 of the last 4. And all 3 of those didn't have Cole Anthony. He's put up over 21 fantasy points. So more value to be had here. Robin Lopez probably draws the start. I know he hasn't played much since Wendell Carter Jr. came back, but they just have nobody. If he draws the start, that makes a lot of sense too at 4-3. Those 3, I would add Gravett, Lopez to the 2 guys you mentioned, and maybe even Admiral Schofield, another guy just to throw in there at 3,300. I mean, this entire team is out, so you can find some value here. We'll see what the starting lineup has to offer. All right, man. We'll jump on to the next game of the night. We have the Washington Wizards at the Miami Heat. This one starts at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. We don't have a spread for this one either, but we do have an injury report. For the Heat, we have Bam, Dedmon, Lowry, Markieff Morris, Victor Oladipo all out, and PJ Tucker is questionable. For the Wizards, Bradley Beal is questionable. Rui Hachimura is questionable. Raul Neto, Aaron Holiday, Anthony Gill, KCP, and Thomas Bryant are all out for this one. I'll throw it on over to you. What are you looking at on the Wizards? And if Beal plays, what changes for you?
Well, if Beal plays, then I will not be inserting who I'm about to tell you guys, which is Spencer Dinwiddie. I think he's been filling in nicely while Beal's been out. So I would really be looking at Beal's status first before putting Dinwiddie in, especially because he's at 6,800. So that's almost 7K. And I'd rather have obviously Beal over Dinwiddie. But if Beal does sit, I would be trying to spend that 6,800 for Dinwiddie. He's been, just because he's been getting almost 40 minutes a game, and he's been really stuffing the stat sheet with 21 points and 17 points in the last 2 games to go along with 12 assists. So he had a double-double in one of those games and 6 assists. I'm sorry, guys, I can't talk. But 6 assists in those 2 games. And then he had 7 rebounds and 3 rebounds. So he's been really putting the stats up there. And I think if Beal sits, then Dinwiddie he would be worth 68. If he was at 7,000, I would be looking elsewhere. But I think he could really help us out.
It's gifting season. No one returns alcohol. So this year, get everyone on your list the gift of beer, wine, and spirits delivered with Drizzly in under 60 minutes. Right now, Drizzly is giving every new customer $5 off their first order. Just use the promo code FAST5 at checkout. So download Drizzly app now or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com and use the promo code FAST5 for $5 off your first order. And get that delivered in under 60 minutes. Get it when you need it. You can also conveniently shop across stores, so you can choose from a huge selection and get exactly what you want. And you have the benefit of finding out the best deals on what you're looking for, as you can compare prices across those multiple stores. Drizzly is the most convenient way to buy beer, wine, and spirits, with delivery to your doorstep in under 60 minutes. Drizzly is the #1 app for alcohol delivery. So download the Drizzly app now or go to drizzly.com. Again, that's DRIZLY.com and use the promo code FAST5 at checkout to get $5 off your first order.
Gearheads know that some projects need so many parts, it feels like you need a whole storage unit just to store them. That's what eBay Motors' 122 million parts are for. Think of it as your virtual parts garage. They've always got the right fitment at the right prices. Use the eBay Motors app or visit ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Yeah, I like that. And I like the tongue twisters you had in there, too.
Right.
Along with Dinwiddie, I'm looking at Trez at 4,800. His price tag really dropped. He's not playing a ton of minutes now. He's getting high teens to mid 20s in there. Him and Gafford are really splitting time here. But this is going to be a solid matchup. We have the starting center in Bam out, and then the backup center in Dedmon out. PJ Tucker, starting power forward, is questionable. So there's some opportunity in the front court for Harrell and Gafford. I would prefer Harrell as the scoring option because he can score down there. And then Denny Avdia, he's again, these are both assuming that Bradley Beal doesn't play. Guy's been crushing it lately. In the last 5 games, he has nothing less than 25 fantasy points, and he's only 4,400. So he's taken on a bigger playmaking role, as is Dinwiddie, with Beal out. So if Beal does miss another game, I mean, I think that's just easy value to be had here as well. If Beal does play, probably just going to leave it all alone, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
And then we'll jump on over to the Heat, man. We saw Butler back in the last one. Now we don't have Lowry again. What are you looking at over here?
Well, I'm between a couple guys. I'm between Tyler Hero and Caleb Martin. I think it's tough. Hero again is as much as Dinwiddie. He's at 6,800, and it's really looking like we're hoping he'll take Lowry's minutes. Where in Caleb Martin's situation, he's at 4,000, so he's almost 3,000 less, and it seems like he's getting Lowry's minutes, and he's been taking advantage of those minutes as well. So I think I'll be putting Caleb Martin over Tyler Hero in this matchup. But what do you think?
Yeah, I like that. It's a good spot there, and all these guys have been playing a lot of minutes without Butler and everybody in the lineup lately. Strauss, Vincent, Martin just came back. When I'm looking, I like Yurtsevin. I just mentioned that both the starting center and backup center are out. This guy started in the last one. He played 33 minutes, dropped almost 38 fantasy points. He's still under 5K, so I think that's very solid value here. They don't have much in the way of front court depth, especially if PJ Tucker doesn't play. So Yurtsevin's going to play as much as he can handle. So I like that. Caleb Martin, you mentioned Martin. He's only 4K. He came back in the last one after a couple weeks off in the protocols, and he played 29 minutes. That is a very solid amount of minutes to play. He had almost 28 fantasy points, so solid value there. You mentioned Hero too. I think, especially without Lowry, he should be playing more. I know he got ejected in the last one, and I think that's a good solid price tag at 6,800. I'm looking closely at Butler, but I'm probably going to pass and let him get a couple more games under his belt after missing so much time. All right, we'll jump on over to the next game. The other game at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. We have the Philadelphia 76ers taking on the Toronto Raptors. We don't have a spread for this one, but we have a lot of changing news on the injury report. On the Sixers side, we have Andre Drummond, Danny Green, Shake Milton, Ben Simmons all out. On the Raptors, Precious, OG, Scotty Barnes, Isaac Bongo, Justin Champagne, Goran Dragic, Malachi Flynn, David Johnson, and Fred VanVleet all out. Gary Trent Jr., Pascal Siakam, and Kem Burke all cleared protocols, and they are currently questionable. Yes, I have to get a drink of water after saying that entire list over there. Jeez. But we'll start with the Sixers. We know who's in, who's out as of yet. They just changed the rules for 6 days after testing positive. The day you test positive or go on the health and safety protocols doesn't count. 6-7 days after that, or the 7th day after that, you can get back. So things will be changing a little quicker. But we know who's in, who's out for the most part on this side of the ball. What are you looking at on these Sixers?
Yeah, I'm looking at Seth Curry and I'm looking at Tyrese Maxey. Curry, I know he has not been shooting well, but he's been almost getting 40 minutes a game. And it might be kind of silly to say, but he's a Curry. I mean, he's obviously not his brother's level, but I mean, they know how to get out of a slump. So I look for him to get out of that funk and try to help his team against Toronto tonight. And then I'm really looking at Tyrese Maxey at 6,400. It's only 100 under Curry, but he's been getting mid to high 30s in minutes, and he's had almost 30 points a game against Miami and had almost 20 points a game against Atlanta. And he also had a couple rebounds and a couple assists. So I think as long as he gets to mid to high 30s in the minutes, I think he's definitely a look at to put in your lineups tonight. But what do you think about the 76ers?
Yeah, and I really like Embiid. The only question I have is the guys that are questionable for Toronto, are they going to play? Can they keep this game competitive if they do play? And how many minutes? Because if this game is somewhat competitive, Embiid's in a smash spot. He's been playing really good lately, and I don't mind paying up for him. I prefer him to Giannis, who is just $200 cheaper. So I'm going to keep an eye on that and see what Toronto's injury report comes. If they're starting the entire backup team like they did in the last game, then probably not going to have much exposure to anyone, just because I don't think they'll have to run anyone into the ground in this one, playing against a bunch of backups if that's the case. But I don't mind Seth Curry either, or Tyrese Maxey. I think those are two fair price tags in this matchup. I just want to see how Toronto looks before I invest on the other side of the ball, because it could very easily be a blowout here. And now we will get to the other side of the ball, and I guess I was touching on it, so I'll take them. Okay. Yeah, we saw almost exclusive backups in the last game. We saw Banton, Svi, Watanabe, Boucher, all these guys start in the last one. DJ Wilson start in the last one. And obviously none of them are accustomed to starting. Boucher sometimes last year, but not this year. If Trent, we have to certainly see if Burke, Trent, or Siakam are playing. Even if Burke plays, he might not start. He's missed a little over a month, so I don't expect him to get thrown right into the fire anyway. But that's something to keep an eye on. Boucher does make some sense even against an Embiid, especially if Siakam doesn't play. He was pretty much the scorer. Watanabe makes some sense even at 5'3". But if Trent plays, that might knock him down. There's a lot to siphon through here. But Banton for me, 4K. He's gonna start at point guard, and I like going in that direction. But Siakam, Trent Jr. are going to change if I look at Boucher or Watanabe in this one. Outside of that, I think we can still we know that Banton is the one guy for me that I can play regardless. How about you?
Yeah, I'm really looking at DJ Wilson. I mean, he's 3,800, and he's only played one game this season, but he scored 15 points, had 8 rebounds, and 4 assists with a block. So I think even though it's only one game, he was close to a double-double. So I think if he plays again tonight, which he's expected to, he's not on the injury report, I think he can at least have some minutes, especially if this game gets out of hand. And at 3,800, I think that's a good value for him.
All right, I like it. All right, let's jump on over to that next game. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the Los Angeles Lakers taking on the Houston Rockets. The Rockets are on the back end of a back-to-back in this one. All right, and we do have an injury, or we do have a spread for this one, a 228 game total, and the Lakers are 4.5 point road favorites. That's a big total. The Rockets don't have an injury report yet, as we know. They are on the back end of a back-to-back. But we did see a couple people in and out for this one. John Wall's obviously out. Jayshawn Tate, Garrison Matthews, KJ Martin, DJ Augustine should all miss on health and safety protocols. Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. missed Monday, but they are expected to give it a go on this one, but we'll see. They might change things. On the injury report for the Lakers, Ariza, Bazemore, AD, Nunn, Reeves, Rondo, all out, and LeBron is probable as always. I'll throw it over to you, man. What are you looking at on the Lakers side of the ball?
Man, LeBron always probable, but he always plays. I don't get it. But I'm definitely looking at Melo. He's at 4,900. He's getting high minutes, and we pretty much know what we can get from him. But to fill AD's shoes, I'll be looking at Horton Tucker. He's at 5,800. And in the last 2 games, he's had 30 or more minutes and has played decently well. And like I said, I'll be taking a look at him while AD is out. But what do you think? Anyone else for the Lakers side?
Yeah, I don't mind looking at LaProbable either. 11-3. And I'm surprised I haven't heard that many times. Maybe it's all over the place, but I haven't seen it. But LaProbable's obviously, he's probable every game, but he's playing. And he's been awesome. 3 of the last 4 games, at least 60 fantasy points. He's only 11-3, and this matchup is it's the Rockets. So I don't mind going up there. He's another guy I would spend up on. I don't think he'll have a ton of ownership with some of the big names on this slate also. Yeah, and you mentioned a guy, Talen Horton-Tucker, Melo, 2 guys that should step in and fill in for the void that AD left. Dwight Howard is another one. I don't mind at 4,600. He's only played. His role is very hit or miss, but he might be needed for this since the Rockets do have a couple big front court players like Christian Wood, Tice, Sengun on the bench, so he might be playing a little bit more. Yeah, and that's pretty much where I'm looking. I don't think we need to dive deep too much, especially with everybody in and out of the lineup due to protocols right now for them. And then we'll jump on over to the Rocket side of the ball. Who are you looking at over here?
I'll be trying to get in Jalen Green. I would definitely look at his status as he is questionable for tonight. But he put up 20 actual points with 32 fantasy points, and he had a rebound and 2 assists and a block. And he played 25 minutes. So I think if he plays, this will definitely be a good game for him to get in. And I'm also looking at Eric Gordon. He's 5,500. He's getting mid-20s in minutes and scoring 27 and 31 fantasy points against the Lakers. So I look for him to get his minutes. But what about you? Who do you think for the Rocket side?
Yeah, and I like Jalen Green at 4,700 if he does play. Even if Kevin Porter Jr. plays, I think that's a very solid price tag for him to bring back value on. It's a little cheap for him. And then I'm looking at who's going to take that forward role. It could be Eric Gordon at 5,500, and he's going to see extra minutes. I saw David Nwaba start this game with everybody out, and is a chance that he starts again. And at 3,400, if he does draw the start in this particular matchup, the Lakers sometimes go small. We saw Melo, LeBron play some center the last couple games. David Nwaba at 3,400 makes a lot of sense to me. I know he's had success in the past, so that's a guy I'm going to be looking at. I think we can leave Christopher and Brooks out, assuming that Green and Porter Jr. are back. So that's where I'm going to mainly look at this one with you on Jalen Green and giving Nwaba a nice look, and Eric Gordon potentially if he starts as well, but mainly the first 2. All right, jumping on over to the next game of the night, we have the New York Knicks taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Wolves are also on the back end of a back-to-back. We don't have a spread for this one, but we do have an injury report. And we have for the Knicks, Jericho Sims, Derrick Rose, Nerlens Noel, Miles McBride, Daniel House, all out. On the Wolves, they're listing everyone as available for some reason on the official injury report, but that can't be correct. We know Patrick Beverley cleared protocol, so he might be back. Torian Prince, Naz Reid, D'Lo, Towns, they should all be out. Edwards still hasn't cleared yet, so we're going to consider him questionable. Jared Vanderbilt is getting close, but we'll consider him questionable. And I think Okogie is good to go. So it's weird they have everybody as in, but I don't know, or available, but not everybody's off the list. And Torian Prince should be out too. Yeah, it's really weird. That's a clerical error. I'm assuming they shouldn't have their injury report shouldn't even be sent in today because or for tomorrow's game because they're playing today. But yeah, we'll go with a clerical error on that one, and I'll throw it over to you, man. What are you looking at on the Knicks side of the ball?
Really, I could be putting shaders on, but I'm really only looking at Kemba Walker. Honestly, he's still under 7K. I mean, he's right at that mark, 6,900. But he's playing like his all-star level self again. I mean, on Christmas, he had a triple-double and had 45.5 fantasy points. So while he's still in the 6,900, 7,000 range, I'm going to be trying to put him in my lineups. But do you have anybody else? I hate that. I only have Kemba, though.
Yeah, no, it's a tough team to look at. And Kemba, he's been playing phenomenal. I'm curious to see if it was that month off pretty much that he was benched that got him rejuvenated, the benching that got him rejuvenated, the extra minutes he has to see with everybody out. I'm curious to see if it's going to keep going, especially now that most of the guys are coming back. But the way he's been playing, I can't see how Tibbs can not continue to play him. Maybe not at 40 minutes per game on average the last four, but 34 to 33, see if his knees can cooperate, especially with Derrick Rose out. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't mind taking another chance at him under 7K. He's just been crushing it. Even when his shot didn't fall, like in the last one, 3 of 12, he had 12 assists and 10 rebounds to boot. So value is continually to be had there. And outside of that, yeah, I think Mitch Robinson at 4,900 makes a little sense. We have no Naz Reid, no Karl Anthony Towns on the other side of the ball, so a bunch of backups in the front court. No Jared Vanderbilt, who was their starting power forward. No Torian Prince. Mitch Rob, if you want to get paid or get an offense to run through you, I know he's complaining about it. Now is your time to show a reason why. So I'll look to him. If he can't do it, Obi Toppin at 3,600. I don't mind looking at his way as well. But yeah, those are the two guys I'm looking at outside of Kemba. Julius Randle at 10.5 interests me, but I don't know if I want to pull the trigger there just because he's not been playing like the Randle that we saw last year. But we'll jump on over to the other side of the ball. We'll just assume that everybody that was out is out, and Edwards and Beverly could be back because I know Beverly cleared Edwards. They didn't say officially cleared it yet, but who are you looking at on this side of the ball?
Yeah, I just looked up Edwards, and like you said, it says it will remain out for Monday's game. So I guess we'll have to see if he will actually be out for tonight's game. But if he is, I'm looking at Jaden McDaniels. He's at 4,800. He's been getting 30 more minutes. He's been close to a double-double in 2 out of the last 3 games and almost posted a triple-double in the last game. So I think especially with Anthony Edwards out, McDaniels is a great fill-in, and he's under 5K. And I'll also be looking at Malik Beasley. He's at 5,400. And I'll be talking about him a little bit later in our player tiers, but he's been really balling in the last 2 games. And I think against the Knicks, I think he could have another good game. And I think he's worth the price tag as well. But what do you think about the T-Wolves?
Yeah, I don't, especially if Edwards doesn't play, I can't see Malik Beasley shouldn't be 5'4" right now. That's still incredibly cheap for this guy. I think value is bare minimum if Edwards doesn't play. And even if Edwards does play, 5'4", especially without Russell, with no Towns, no Vanderbilt, that's 3 other starters that they have to play. Possibly no Beverly, but I think Beverly plays. But Beasley makes a lot of sense to me. If Beverly plays and his conditioning's good to go, 5'4", he could flirt with a triple-double, a low-end, very low-end triple-double. I don't think he'll get it, but he can get 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 7 points, bring back 30-plus fantasy points here too. So 5'4" for him makes a lot of sense. You mentioned McDaniels, 48, not a bad price tag. Nathan Knight just drew the start in the last one, and he is only 3,200. and again, makes a ton of sense in this one. You're looking at the lineup. Who else are they going to start at center? They really don't have another center unless they want to call up like a Greg Monroe or Chris Silva. Those are probably the only two that you look at right now, and I'm not really going to go too heavy on that. But I think Nathan Knight, he played a ton of minutes tonight's game. 29 minutes, had 20 points, 11 boards, 4 assists, and he's only 3,200. I think he's going to see a ton of lineups in this one as well. So yeah, that's where I'm looking at for the most part. And I think we can jump on over to the next game. We have the Cleveland Cavaliers taking on the New Orleans Pelicans. Another doozy of an injury report. This one starts at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We don't have a spread for this one, but the injury report, bear with me, it's going to be another long one. We have Jared Allen, Ed Davis, Evan Mobley, Jedi Osman, Colin Sexton, Lamar Stevens, Dylan Windler, all out. Isaac Okoro as questionable for the Cavs. On the Pelicans, we have Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jose Alvarado, Kyra Lewis Jr., Didi Lozada, Najee Marshall, Zion Williamson, all out. Josh Hart is questionable. Brandon Ingram is doubtful. Jonas Valanciunas as probable. Whew. All right, man. On the Cavs side of the ball, what are you looking at over here?
Well, a little side note. I don't know about you, Santino, or what our listeners think, but with the commish saying he's not going to shut down the NBA this season, we got to see. I don't know. It's getting out of hand. I think you just rattled off another long list. But like I said, that was just a side note here. But on the Cavs side, I'm looking at Darius Garland. He's his regular price tag, 9,900, but he's gotten 40 minutes and scored 28 points and had gotten 40 minutes in the game, scored 28 points, and had also gotten 29 minutes and scored 22 points. So that's a big difference, and it's only 6-point difference. So I think even though he is a little inconsistent, I would still be taking a look at him, because if he gets low 20s or if he gets mid 30s, I think he could still have the same type of game, and he might be worth his price tag with everybody out. And I'm also looking at Markkanen at 5,900. He had 22 minutes and had 20 points in his last game, and almost scored a point a minute. Is pretty much how it came out to be. And he had 7 rebounds, and I think he can at least get 25 minutes in this one and possibly have almost the same stat line in this game. But what are you thinking, Santino?
Yeah, and I like that. For me, I don't really want to attack. I think the matchup is great. I do think everybody's price tag is right where they should be. Garland shouldn't be too much lower. He's been awesome. Kevin Love, price tag jumped up now that he's starting and the front court's out. Markkanen starting at power forward. $6K. That's close to where he was, even though in the last game he put up 20 and 7. He doesn't do much else. So he only put up 32 fantasy points. So I don't see a ton of upside there for him either. I think all the price tags are fairly solid. Though continuing to go down, Isaac Okoro, if he's ready and his conditioning is good to go, and he's ready to play 30-plus minutes. This guy was on fire four games before leaving 16 points or higher actual points. He was starting to play solid offensively for the first time in possibly his year and a half of his career so far. So that's where I'd be looking at. If he's not ready to go, Dean Wade is starting, playing like 30 minutes, close to that. That makes some sense to me too, under 4K. So I'm looking at value on this side. And I think a lot of the other guys are priced appropriately in my opinion. So I won't have too much exposure there. But I'll jump on over to the other side of the ball, man. What are you looking at on the Pelicans?
I'm really only looking at Garrett Temple. He's at 3,600, and I think he could be a good value play for tonight's games. He's inconsistent, but he's had 35 minutes and scored 22 points in the last game. And I think I would take a look at him, but I wouldn't force him into my lineups. But who else are you looking at?
Yeah, and I'm curious to see if Josh Hart plays, because if he does, there's a lot of offense to go around. Brandon Ingram shouldn't play in this one. J Val should look a bit nicer, but he's almost 10K, so I don't want to jump up there. But Josh Hart, even at 7.3, this guy's been playing awesome all around so far this year. Without Ingram, I think that price tag is still reasonable. He just showed in the last game when he dropped 29 actual points. He has 3 straight games of over 20 actual points. I think the rebounds are always there. More playmaking responsibilities, especially on the entire year, or especially without Ingram, makes some sense for me. I mentioned Temple. They love Temple here, so he should play a lot, especially without Brandon Ingram in this one. 3,600 makes him a solid value play as well. And Devontae Graham, another guy who should step up and have a lot of shots here at 6K. I don't mind it. I don't think the upside is huge, but he could easily go for over 20 actual points with the amount of shot attempts that he's looking at, even against a tough defense. All right, we have 2 games left, man. And before we say these last 2 games, I want everybody to know that we have a brand new daily fantasy partner at Sports Ethos, Thrive Fantasy. Prop up with Thrive Fantasy on their mobile app or at thrivefantasy.com. Use code ETHOS when you sign up to get a 100% deposit match bonus on your first deposit up to $100, plus either 2 or 4 free game tickets to play. Pick player props on the night and the biggest games. Pick player props on the night of the biggest games. Score points when those players hit their props, and the players with the most points win a share of the nightly prize money. It is an awesome site, and again, it is Thrive Fantasy, and you can enter the promo code ETHOS at thrivefantasy.com or the Thrive Fantasy mobile app. All right, man, last 2 games of the night. We have Denver Nuggets taking on the Golden State Warriors. Battle of last year's MVP against this year's front runner as of right now. We don't have a spread for this one, but we do have an injury report. On the Nuggets, we have PJ Dozier, Marcus Howard, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. all out. Monte Morris probable. Aaron Gordon, Bol questionable. On the Warriors, we have Draymond, Damian Lee, Moses Moody, Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, James Wiseman all out. Andre Iguodala as probable. I did hear that. That's weird. I heard today that Jordan Poole cleared the protocols, but Andrew Wiggins didn't. They have Poole listed out here on the official injury report, but not Wiggins. So I'm going to keep that in mind. I'm not sure what's going on tonight with the official injury reports, but maybe I heard wrong. Let's see. Nope, they have Andrew Wiggins available to play, but I thought I saw Poole cleared it too. Nope, he's listed it out. Maybe I saw the wrong thing or they changed that up. This injury report's right. The Wolves is weird, but we'll start with the Nuggets, man. What are you looking at on this side of the ball?
I'm definitely looking at Monte Morris. I'm checking his status first, obviously. But he's not missed a game yet this season. Nice little side note there. And he's averaged 13 points with 4.3 assists and 3 rebounds a game. And I am going to look for him to get some value in this game as well. And I'm also looking at Austin Rivers. He's 3,700. He's been getting some high minutes and can produce with them as well. I think if he breaks 30 minutes again or gets the high minutes again, I think he could have a decent game. Definitely against a tough Warriors team. So Rivers, I would not be forcing him, but I'll be taking a look with him as well. What do you think?
Yeah, and this is the one where I don't know if I want to go to. We're talking about Jokic at 12-4, super expensive, super reliable, but against the Warriors, even without Draymond, it's still a tough matchup. So something to keep an eye on. But without Draymond, it does boost him. Though I think we have a couple other options in that high price range that I like to that I already mentioned. Yeah, I don't mind Morris. I don't know if I'll get too much exposure to him with this matchup. But you mentioned Rivers, and there's also Bones. Those 2 guys I don't mind taking stabs at very cheap in this particular matchup. And then if Aaron Gordon doesn't play, there's an opportunity for another person, one of the greens to start. And both of them are under 4K, so both options to take a look at here. But I don't really want to have too much exposure on this side of the ball. Likewise. Jumping on over to the Warriors, man, what are you looking at over here?
I'm only really looking at Otto Porter Jr. He had 34.5 fantasy points on Christmas Day. He had 19 actual points with 6 rebounds and 3 assists. And whichever injury report's right, I don't know what they're going to put out there for tomorrow. But I think if Wiggins is out again, I will definitely be putting Porter into my lineups. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think Porter makes a lot of sense. Even they have Wiggins listed in, and they have Poole listed out, but there's no Draymond, so there's still a spot in the starting lineup that Porter Jr. Or minutes even to fill, and Porter Jr. has been playing really solid. 3 straight games of at least 29 minutes, 29, 29, and 30 in the last 3, and they all coincidentally coincide with over 31 fantasy points. So I'm with you there. I like Porter Jr. And Gary Payton Jr. at just 5K. He's starting with Poole out again and Draymond now out. I think he should start again, and he's been playing really solid lately. The last 4 games, at least 25 fantasy points, and he's just 5K, so there's still value to be had there, even though his price tag is jumping up a little bit. Yeah, and that's where I'm looking at for the most part. Right with you. All right, we're going to jump on over to the last game of the night. We have the Oklahoma City Thunder taking on the Sacramento Kings. We do have a spread for this one, a 218 game total, and the Kings are 4.5-point home favorites. On the injury report, we have Darius Beasley, Trey Mann, Pokemon, James Robinson Earl, all out. Aaron Wiggins is back and available. And on the Kings, we just have Davion Mitchell and out, and Alex Lynn as questionable. All right, man. Jumping on over to the Oklahoma City Thunder side of the ball. What are you looking at over here?
I'm only really looking at Dort and Aaron Wiggins. Start with Dort. He had 13 points, 2 boards, and 1 assist in the last game. And I think he could have a decent game against the Kings. But Wiggins, Dort is also at 5,500, if I didn't mention that. And Wiggins is at 3,400. And like you mentioned, he is back. And he had 24 points with 6 assists. So he was closer to a double-double. And he had 33 fantasy points as opposed to Dort had 24.5 fantasy points. I know they're 2 different positions. But if I had to pick between the 2, I would definitely be picking Aaron Wiggins over Dort. But what do you think for tonight?
Yeah, and it's a tough one because they're missing a couple of their front court guys, but we won't know the starting lineup until later on in the day, and we don't know who's going to be in and who's going to be out on the protocols. Beasley got put in there on Sunday, and then today Robinson, Earl, Pokemon, Trey Mann all went there. So I think it's still up in the air, honestly, to who to put in, who to put out on this side of the ball, because anybody tomorrow or even later during the day up until game time could be added onto that list. But without that, I think Shai, 9,500, he's been playing phenomenal lately, and this is a matchup that he can easily take advantage of. The Kings just bleed points to opposing backcourts. So I really like Shai here at 95. I don't mind spending up for him. But the only bad news is he could potentially, if you put him in your lineup early and then he gets added to the health and safety protocols late, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow. But outside of that, Kenrick Williams might find himself in the starting lineup. We don't know. You mentioned Aaron Wiggins. Love that price tag at 3,400. And then this team needs a new center. It could be Isaiah Roby. It could be Derek Favors. It could be Mike Muscala. It could be all 3 of them. But I'm interested to see who gets that starting job, and I don't mind taking a chance on any of those 3 in that order: Roby, Favors, Muscala. Someone's going to have to start. They need a new front court with Beasley out and James Robinson Earl out. But I'm with you. I really like the Wiggins at 3,400. Right. Jumping on over to the last team of the night, man. What are you looking at on Sacramento side?
Yeah. I'm looking at Harrison Barnes. He had almost 30 fantasy points in his last game, 12 points, 7 boards, 3 assists. I think he could definitely help him tonight. And he's at 7,100, so he's in the mid-range. But I think he can give you some value back for that price tag. And I'm also looking at your guy, Tyreese Halliburton. He had 18 points, 5 boards, 7 assists in their last game. And 2 games ago, he actually doubled with 22 points and 13 assists. So I think against the Thunder, he could have a similar stat. I don't know if he'll actually post another double-double, but I think if he doesn't, it'll be close. He'll have at least another maybe 10 to 15 points, and he might have 10 assists, maybe 9 assists. But those are the 2 guys that I'm looking at. But how about you? What are you looking at?
Yeah, and I'm just looking at one guy. A lot of these guys, I loved Halliburton. Now that Fox is back, now that everyone's back, their price tags are reflecting a little bit. They're a little inflated with everybody back in the lineup to me, so I don't really want to have much exposure. But Rashawn Holmes, he's come back after missing about 2 weeks. He's only played 30 minutes combined in those 2 games and shot 2 of 7 from the field. So 2 duds. But at 5,600, I'm inclined to take another shot at him at tournament options because, especially against this front court, he should be able to feast as long as he's going to play a certain amount of minutes. I don't know why he only played 13 in the last one. I mean, he did have 5 fouls, and they did get blown out, so I guess they didn't have a need to rush him back in. But second game back, I would have hoped that they played him a little bit more just to shake off the rust. But I think this is the game where he does shake off the rust at 5,600. That's entirely too cheap, especially in this matchup. Missing 2 guys who've been starting all year for them in the front court. So give me some Rashawn Holmes and everybody else. I'm going to give it a couple games to see their price tags reflect where they should be. All right, man. That does it for our 8-game slate. And before we head on out of here, do you want to go over your favorite plays of the night?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. What is your favorite high price play of the night? So anyone over 8K?
Yeah, I will be looking at SGA, 9,500. I think he'll be a great play against the Kings. He has 45 or more fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I think he's definitely a lock in this one.
All right, I like it. For me, spending up, I'm going to go with LeBron or LeProbable James. 11-3. The guy's just been on fire lately. 3 of the last 4 games, over 60 fantasy points, and now he's taking on the Rockets. I expect that to continue again on this one. All right. How about your favorite mid-tier play of the night?
Yeah, I think you know who I'm going to say, but as long as he's under 7K, I'm looking at my boy Kemba Walker. I think he could cash in. We can cash in tonight with him being under 7K.
Right, I like it. And I'm going to go with Malik Beasley. It just makes a lot of sense, especially if we don't see Edwards in the lineup again. 5'4" is just entirely too cheap for a guy who's going to be taking around 20 shots in this one or plus. So sign me up for him one more time. And then we will do our favorite value plays of the night.
Man, you took my value play. I mean, Beasley might have been a little high, but I still had him there. But I will be then going with Otto Porter Jr., 4,900. He's been logging 30 minutes in the last 3 games. And with Wiggins or Poole in or out, I think he could have a good game.
All right, I like it. And I'll take Delano Banton one more time at 4K. He played 24 minutes in his first game in over almost 2 weeks in the last one, only shot 3 of 12 from the field. But this team, the Raptors have no other guards right now, and Gary, except possibly Gary Trent Jr. Even then, he might still start. I'll take another shot at him at just 4K. All right. Awesome, man. Yeah, that does it for our player tiers now. And before we head on here, is there anything else that you want to add?
No, I think I'm good. I had a great year this year, guys, and thank you for everything. And Happy New Year, guys. I'll see you in 22.
Awesome. We love it. All right, guys, take care. You heard it here. Take care. Have a great 2022. And we will catch you again tomorrow. We will catch you again next time. Myself and DJ Sammy Caps catch you. It will be the following year, which is going to be exciting. All right. Take care. Have a good night.
Peace out, guys.
You coming to bed, hon?
Yep, honey, I'll be right there. Just gotta turn out the light. Ow! 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 Ah! Gah!
Some things never change. Like your kids always leaving tiny toys on the floor for you to step on.
Ow!
And Geico saving folks lots of money on their car insurance.
Sweetie, I think I left the downstairs light on.
Please don't make me go.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
It takes a lot of ingredients to fix or build a car, like cooking, but without the frozen dinner easy way out. eBay Motors has 122 million parts. It's always the right fitment, so you can follow any recipe to a T. Whether it's a vintage Italian coupe that's classic like Grandma's meatballs, or a German luxury car that's as complicated as Oma's rouladen, to cook up something great in the garage, use the eBay Motors app or visit ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.